Well, we're in a series on relationships called It's Complicated, and the rules are that you're not allowed to elbow anybody that you came in with in case you think that something should really apply to them. We've talked about the relationships that we have in our marriage and a little bit in our family relationships last week. This week, I want to talk about, not to scare you or anything, but I want to talk about your relationship with money. And I know that that's not a person, all right? So everyone just put both hands on your wallet and just realize we're not asking for anything, okay? We're good. We're not here to tell you how to make more money. We maybe if you do some of this, you could save more money, and we're not even here to tell you to give more money. We're just saying, what does God say about money? That's the sermon. But before I jump into that, because I want you to hear this, because I've said the same thing in the other two sermons, is that nothing I say matters unless this one thing is in place in your life. And that would go true for our sermon on marriage. You know, nothing we said about marriage makes any sense without this one thing. Nothing we said about your family and how to raise your kids, none of that makes any sense unless this thing is in place, and that is your personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the thing that allows for all other things. And without that thing in place, nothing that I say or anyone else says, no matter how many books you read, none of that stuff matters. So just stop for just a moment and just kind of take an inventory in your life and just ask these simple questions of like, have I received Christ somewhere in my life at some point? You know, is there, I can kind of point to, yes, that period of my life, that day at camp or whatever, yes, that's happened. Do I walk around and do I know that my sins have been forgiven? That's a big one. I talk to a lot of people, and man, they don't have that kind of assurance, and I don't know how we go on day after day without knowing that. I mean, do you have a confidence that your sins have been forgiven because of what Jesus Christ has done for you? Have you been baptized, and have you received the Holy Spirit? Meaning, have I made some steps of obedience, and am I seeing evidence of God with me? Because that's the promise that Jesus made, that he would always be with us. Do I have that in my life? And then this last one, am I submitted to God in every area of my life? Well, that's a big question. Because this is just one, money or marriage or whatever, it's just one more area. You know, when Jesus came, he didn't say to the fishermen, hey, I'm going to talk to you guys about money. Y'all ready to hear about money? He didn't say that. He said, follow me. And they learned about a lot by following him. So this is just one more area of our life. So money is just a relationship, and like every other relationship in our life, it's complicated, really complicated. I met somebody in the first service, and she's some sort of a accounting person. That's as far as I could go. You know, I heard the word accountant, and then I just started like, It's complicated, right? So maybe what does the Bible say about money? I've got 10 statements, 10 stances, 10 verses, 10 commandments, 10 teachings that the Bible says about money. And Pastor Pete looked at this because we kind of share the message and stuff. He turns this message into something that makes more sense to most people and turns it into a teaching that if you have a community group, which we hope you have a community group, and you needed some curriculum, you could just go and grab this one and you could get some questions or whatever. But he said, really, there's an outline to this. And I was like, well, thank goodness, because I had no idea there was an outline. And he said, the first point is, and so here, I'll give you the outline that he gave me because I think it makes sense. Basically, the message is, you control your money, don't let your money control you. Okay, I'll fill in the blanks here, but you control your money, don't let your money control you. So here's some of these 10 statements that the Bible makes, and the first one is out of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. It's 3 simple words. Don't love money. Don't love money. Yeah. You hear that there's a verse, there's this terrible verse in the Bible that says, don't love money. And here's what it says. The love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. So when we get off track, and Christians can get off track too, right? It's not like we decided when we were 15 never to love money and it worked for us the rest of our life. You know, this is a constant kind of upgrade in our life that we remember that I'm to control my money's not to control me, and I'm not to love money. Because that can lead to all sorts of things. And we can get way afield from where we want to be when we get in love with money. Here's a second statement, Hebrews 13:15, 2 words. Be content. Oh, it sounds so easy. I can even write that down. Be content. But the Bible talks a lot about contentment. It says, keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. For God said, I will never leave you or forsake you. Maybe it was easy for your great-grandparents to be content. I don't know. I mean, once a year they got the Sears and Roebuck catalog. You know, that's what happened to them. But for us, it's every day seeing somebody who's got something newer, something nicer, something shinier, something more expensive, something that works even better than the thing that you thought was working pretty good until you saw that other thing. And so our whole culture is built on whatever you have, not good enough. You need something different. And the Bible says, be content. Be content. You don't have to have the latest and greatest. And in fact, it says that everything that you and I have, it doesn't say it in this verse, but let me extrapolate. This is the Williams interpretation. Everything that you and I have in 100 years will be gone. You won't own any money in 100 years. You won't own any property in 100 years. You will not. Be content with what you have. It's all passing because the writer of Hebrews says you can say that, you can be content because God says, I will never leave you or forsake you. In 100 years, you will still be God's if you're God's today. In 10,000 years, you will still be God's if you are God's today. He will never leave you and never forsake you. So be content with the stuff because the stuff will always change. Did anyone else do any like home renovation type stuff in the pandemic? Wasn't that just like a bottomless pit? You're like, I'm just going to start over here. And you start over here. And once you get one thing looking decent, the thing right beside it looks indecent all of a sudden. Have you ever noticed that? They have stores called Home Depot and Lowe's that feed this habit that we have. Be content. And yet we did a bunch of home renovations. Now we're very content, right? We're very content. So. Proverbs 13:11 is the third statement. It says, gather wealth over time. So don't let your, because sometimes we can just go all in and just think it's got to happen right now. And this is to people like me that have this. You don't raise your hand on this one, okay? You don't want to raise your hand on this one. But I'm one of those who like, get rich quick. Oh, I'm so drawn to that. I'm pretty sure there's a prince over in Nigeria somewhere that has $3 million that wants to give it to me. I just can't figure out quite how to access that quite yet. There's no such thing as getting rich quick that's healthy. This is what the Bible says. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Get your wealth over time. Sometimes you read these articles that seem so nonsensical, and one of the articles I read, and it pops up about every 2 years, it talks about one of the fastest growing poverty segments in our culture, in our North America. And I'm thinking, in my thought, it would be the people who are paying for kids to go to college. Is anyone with me on that one? But that's not what the article said, okay? So one of the fastest growing poverty segments in our society is people that win the lottery. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I mean, the people that win the lottery, and if you've won the lottery, I'm not making fun of you, but please tithe to Renew on that. But when you win the lottery, maybe you don't know a whole lot about money, and all of a sudden somebody dumps a lot of money on you. Guess what? You still don't know a lot about money. And there's a lot of people who know a lot more than you do about money, and they are out to get your lottery money. And one of the fastest growing segments of poverty in our culture are people who win lotteries. Now, if you're like me, here's what you're thinking. You're not going to say it out loud. You're thinking, but if I were to win the lottery, yeah. Gather wealth over time. Don't look for the shortcuts. I'm a shortcut guy. I want a shortcut. And basically, the Bible says no shortcuts. Just gather your wealth over time. Be content. Don't love money. And here's the fourth statement under this idea of you control your money. Don't let your money control you. This Proverbs 22:7 that says, stay away from debt. Oh, he said that four-letter word in church. I'm so sorry. I did. I said it. It says, stay away from debt. The rich rules over the poor. The borrower is slave of the lender. See, when we go into debt, money has control over us. It has legal control over us. I've talked to many people that wanted to do amazing things for God in their lives, and when it came down to it, they couldn't because of debt. I talked to missionaries. We were in seminary, and there were people who were going to go on the mission field, and we're like, and I'm just scratching my head. I'm going, hey, man, you already got like X $100,000 of debt. Like, how are you going to go off and like raise all this money from other people so that you can be a missionary in Timbuktu, but they need to pay off your X $100,000 of debt at the same time? How's that going to work exactly, Stay away from debt, because when you're in debt, it controls you. And of course, you can talk to financial experts. Some debt is better than others, right? Secure debt is obviously better than unsecured debt. I always look at that statistic so that, because I'm a preacher. So I saw this coffee cup, and by the way, anyone wants to give me this coffee cup, I will drink out of it. It says Warning, I'm a preacher. Anything you say can be used in a sermon illustration. I think that would be a great cup, right? But so, you know, this article about how much per capita credit card debt the United States of America has. Per capita means every single person, not your family. All of the people in your family, it's $11,000 is the average. So you might be out there going, I don't have any. Well, guess what that means? Someone else got a lot. $11,000 per person, 330 million people in our country of credit card debt. I'm not talking about your car. I'm not talking about your house. I'm not talking about your school. I'm not talking about your law school. I'm talking about credit. I tell people, I go, you are still paying off a meal that you enjoyed 6 months ago. Is that good? Are you still like that? Stay away from debt. I do a lot of premarital counseling. COVID was the year of not getting married. 2021 is the year of getting married. I'm just telling you, we're just premarital everywhere. And we always do a financial thing, which I love to do. I think finances can be super freeing. Nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to finances. But, you know, I often will tell 22, 23, 24-year-old couples, I go, hey, they all want to live in the same house their parents lives in. They all want to drive the same cars their parents drive. They all want to take the same vacations that their parents take. And I go, you do realize that when your parents were your age, they didn't live in that house, and they didn't drive that car, and they didn't go on the 12-day cruise throughout the Greek islands. You understand that, right? I mean, they just basically went to Galveston, and they drove the jalopy, and they lived in the condo. You know, I mean, that's how it worked. But, you know, we live in an age where a bank says, well, you have a job, we're going to lend you all this money, and you're going to love it. And stay away from debt is what the Bible is saying to us. So the next point that I made in Pete's outline is this, that to not only control your money, don't let it control you, but the second thing says be missional with your money. In other words, use your money on purpose. Make it do for you the things that you think God wants you to do with your money. Be missional with your money. Matthew 6:24, now we're in the red letter edition, New Testament, where Jesus says this, no one can serve two masters. He'll either hate one and love the other, or he'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. So the little bullet point teaching here for me is serve God only. And even as Christians in our culture, a lot of us are serving God and. I'm serving God and I'm just all in love with my favorite team or my favorite hobby or my whatever. But the Bible says serve God only. You cannot serve. He didn't say it was hard. It's very difficult to serve God and money. It doesn't say that. It says you cannot serve two. You can only serve one. So choose to serve God only. Be missional with the money, the wealth that God entrusts to me. Luke 12:15. Jesus basically says this, make your life all about relationships. This is how we're missional. Make your life about relationships, not about stuff. This is what Jesus says, take care, be on your guard against all covetousness. That's the closest I've gotten in three shots on covetousness. And then this next part, I literally have underlined in every Bible I own. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Go, wait a minute, we're Americans. That's all we ever talk about. Man, we have shows on TV showing you how to declutter all of your, we have hoarders and stuff like this. And Jesus says, you know what, your life isn't about all the stuff you have. It's not. Reminder, in 100 years, you will have no stuff, zero stuff. You won't have a collection of anything. You won't have an account in any way. You won't have property. You will have zero in 100 years. And Jesus tells us that your life is not about your possessions. So be missional with your money. Spend your money on purpose. So we raised $2.1 million back in January to redo about 50% of our facility over on this side. And I'm pointing because it's actually through those doors. For preschool, for elementary, and for youth ministry. And so what we're going to do is completely renovate 50% of the property on this campus so that children and youth that we don't know yet will come here and enter into a saving and blessing relationship with the God who created them. And what we're doing is we're renovating space that a bunch of great believers built 50 years ago. Guess what's going to happen in 20, 30, 40, 50 years? A bunch of other people will be in here and going, man, that's just all run down space. We need to go. The stuff that we're like giving money to make really cool, somebody's going to renovate. praise God if they renovate it for the right purposes, right? So that more people can know Jesus Christ. Be missional with your money and make your life about relationships. We can renovate all those spaces and have the coolest and the slickest and all that stuff, but if people don't walk in there and meet Jesus Christ, it matters for nothing. It matters for nothing. Make your life about relationships. This is free of charge, but they asked Jesus, what's the most important commandment? And he didn't have to hesitate. He says, well, love God with everything you got. Let me give you number 2, just for free. Jesus says, love your neighbor. Love God and love people. Your life is all about that. That is what we will take with us into the next life. I don't know what that's going to look like. God hasn't revealed that to me. I'm so glad I'm not going to have my old car in the next life, that I'm going to have friendships in the next life. Praise the Lord. But make your life about relationships, not about money. 1 Timothy 6:17-19 is a command. It's in the command form in the English language and in the Greek, and it says, be rich, and we're all like, in generosity and good works. Well, you might find it even more exciting to be rich in generosity and good works. It's what God commands for us. As for the rich in this present age, and you have to pause right there and say, everybody in here is rich. Hey, everyone in here is rich. In the history of humanity, in the billions of people who have ever lived, you and I are in the top 1.5% of all people who have ever lived at any time in any place. I mean, we are just, you drove here. You've got food in your refrigerator. You have homes. Everything about where we live and how we live says that we are Pete and I talk about this all the time, that like King Solomon, right? He would have given his kingdom to eat at the restaurants you get to eat at. I'm for real. So we're all rich in here, and this is what he says. He says, as for the rich in this present age, that's us, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. They are to do good, be rich in good works, and be generous, ready to share, storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. We are to do good, to be rich in good works, be generous, all those kind of things. I don't know how that looks for you. I don't think he's saying go and give all your money away. I mean, if he says that, do it, but he's not. But be rich in good works and be generous. And something happened in this service. I think it was this third service last week. And we got a note to the website. It says, hey, I need to tell you guys something. And we're always like, oh, no, what did we do? We didn't mean to. Or is it okay? And they're, no, it's some good. I was in the worship service, and I think it was this one. It might have been the one before this. And they said, I've got a back issue, and my back was hurting. And this lady behind me, I don't even know who she was. She, in the middle of service, she just reached over, and she put her hands on my shoulders, and she prayed, and my pain went away like that. And I was like, wow. And why did she do that? Why did this lady that she doesn't know, why did she do something like that? Because she was being rich in good works, and she was being generous with what she had. And so when you hear me say be generous, I don't know that means you got to buy every person on the street corner, a steak dinner. I don't know what it means, but it means that we are in touch with God's Holy Spirit as to how we should live in this world, and that we should live with generous hearts that are willing to do whatever. I was just blown away by that. I say, do more of that, God. Do more of that, God. Proverbs 13:22 says this: invest in your family's future. God cares about your family. Because God already knows what your family's going to look like in 50 years, and you don't. God cares about your family. Listen to this. It says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but a sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. It talks about it's a good thing to have something to pass on, not only to our children, but to our children's children. Now, Beth and I only have children. We don't have children's children yet, and we're not ready for that for a while. But we're thinking we would love to leave our grandchildren, who we don't know yet, we would love for them to have something from us and just say, God's good. That's how we've been trying to pay for our kids to go through college, is that her grandfather, who she barely even knew, and I never got to meet, left her something that is for great-grandchildren that he would never know. And it's helping us pay for college. And what a blessing. You talk about what grace is. Wow. Invest for your family's future. And at the end of this, I got 4 practical steps, which I'm not going to jump into yet, but I'll come back to that one if I can remember in just a few minutes, okay? So the third part of this 3-point sermon is this, that recognize the source of your money. I've been saying your money the whole time. You don't have any money. You and I do not own anything. Remember the very first time we said we need to raise $2 million for the next capital campaign, we began with this concept of stewardship, that you don't own anything. I don't own anything. It is not yours. You are passing through. Everything is God's. So it's not really our money, even though I've been saying your money. It's God's money. You are a steward of it. Jesus told many, many parables about this, about a rich person who entrusted his riches to some of his servants and said, I'm going on a trip and I'll come back and we'll see how you do. And that's who we are. We're just the servants managing somebody else's wealth. Managing somebody else's money. So the third thing, it just says recognize where the source of all your wealth and your money is, and it is in God. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, God is the one who grants us the skill and the ability to make and to manage wealth. You shall remember, here's the quote, the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth, that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your fathers as it is to this day. That it is God who gives us you may look at your wealth and go, man, I'm doing such a great job. And that's where you want the Holy Spirit to convict you, going, God, thank you for letting me manage and steward the things that you've given to me. Because if we thought about it very long, and most of us don't want to think about it very long because we like to think highly of ourselves. But if we thought about it for very long, we might think, wow, so much of what I have, I didn't earn or get. You didn't arrange for yourself to be born where you were born. You didn't arrange for yourself to have the family, if you had a great family, you didn't arrange for yourself to get the breaks that somehow you got. You didn't arrange for some of the skills and abilities that you just have. I had a guy that's, he's pitching in college and, he wants to go to the next level because that's a pretty good gig. Where was that? Not for me. It's okay, Lord. I'm happy. But and then he works hard. He practices. It's an everyday thing. If you've ever seen anyone training for a professional sport, it is incredible hard work. But you know what? Work as hard as he could have never made himself 6'5". He just got that from genetics. He just got that from creation. You can develop some of the stuff. and you're supposed to develop. When you get gifts at Christmas, it's not enough just to get it and sit. I've still got a gift from Christmas. I know she's pointing at me. Beth is pointing at me. I asked for it for Christmas, but it's not just enough to get a present. You've got to learn it to use the present. So the present, just as an aside, anyone who's an IT person out here, I wanted a picture frame so that I could get all of my pictures of all my kids. That's all I care about. I want digital, like 3 million pictures in there, and I just want flashing the whole time. But they didn't give me a magic wand, just zing them in there like that, which is what I needed, So it's not enough to have a gift from the Lord. You have to develop it. And this guy, maybe he's 6'5", maybe that was a gift from the Lord, and maybe he's developing it. But remember this, it's God who gives you the ability to have wealth, to manage wealth. Remember that. We're stewards. Philippians 4:19, and this is the last of the 10 verses, says that it's God who supplies our needs. It's not us. Paul says, and Paul writes this from prison, this epistle of joy from prison, my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. A lot of times, we think we supply the needs. We put the money in the bank and we say, oh, thank goodness we got money in the bank. You go, oh, we got an emergency. Well, we got money in the bank, kind of thing. But it's not we who supply for our needs. It is God who supplies for our needs. Remember the source of your money, the source of your income. It's not maybe who even signed your check. It's God who gives you the ability. As the worship team comes back up this way, I want to give you just 4 practical steps. Maybe this is, I don't know, I really don't know sometimes if this stuff is practical or impractical, but I want it to be practical. I want you to leave here thinking there's a couple things I probably could go home and start working on right now. Here's the first practical step. You ready? Be willing to deny yourself something in the present in order to have something better in the future. People my age have a word for this. It's called growing up. It's called being an adult. It's called telling yourself no. In a culture that says you can have anything and everything you want, God says, how about this? How about you just deny yourself today for something that might be even better tomorrow? So I read articles, and sometimes, like this week, I say, hey, Beth, I read this great article. I go, oh, what's the name of it? I go, 17 Habits of Frugal People. And she's like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And I said, we're frugal. She's like, you think so? I'm like, yeah, I think we're frugal. We're getting there. We're getting there. Just be willing to say no to something today so that you can say yes to something in the future. You don't have to have everything today. That's a practical thing. Here's a second practical thing. Make a real budget. I'm a budget guy. Make a real budget. You mean there's a fake budget? Oh, yeah, there's a fake budget. A fake budget looks backwards. You just get into your bank account, your checkbook, and you just average stuff and say where the money went. That's like looking downriver and seeing where the water went. That doesn't help you at all. A real budget looks upward. Here's how you know if you have a real budget. If you can tell me about how much money you're going to spend in July of this year, you've got a real budget. You go, well, how could I possibly know that? Don't you know how much you pay in rent? Don't you know how much electricity is? Are you going to take a vacation? Don't you know about how much you should spend on that? Then you could tell me about how much you're going to spend in July. Most Americans don't have a real budget. They just look backwards, do some averages, and think they kind of know where their money went, kind of, sort of, and wonder why they don't have more. Make a real budget. Third, make and keep a money commitment to the Lord Jesus. I don't know what your commitment should be. Talk to God about it. But I know that it is a healthy thing for every God-fearing person to make and to keep a financial commitment to their Lord. Because we make and keep financial commitments all the time. We go buy that thing and we make a financial commitment. We have a credit card. We make a financial commitment. We're going to pay that off in the next 6 years at the minimum credit card payment. Don't do it that way. Don't do it that way. Make and keep a financial commitment to the Lord Jesus. And the last thing says this. Share what you're learning with your peers and with your family. We don't do this well. I have great parents, and they're both still living. They were here for weeks, and they taught us to work hard. They taught us to earn all we could. They taught us to save all we could. But as far as things that we need to learn beyond that, we didn't talk a whole lot about it. When you're learning something, you need to have a community around you. The reason we do adult community groups is you need to be around people who are learning some of the same stuff. She said, I'm trying this out. No, have you thought about that? Or be in a group where you can talk about this stuff. And when you're learning something, when you're challenging something, hey, Pastor Wayne says I need to do a budget, so we're going to try to get a budget. Tell that to somebody. Because when we share things, we really do learn them. Because the next time we meet, they might say, hey, how's that thing going you were working on? That's what it means to be in community. None of any of that makes any sense or makes any difference in your life unless Christ is at the center of your life. So it's really the most important question you answer today before you leave is, where am I with Christ? I mean, someone drugged me to church today, which we're glad you're here. But the church kind of stays here this week, but Christ promises to go with you when you leave. He promises to be with you in the ups and the downs, in the times of plenty and the times of need. And until that's right in your life, none of the money stuff will ever be right in your life. So pray with me, and we say, God, we thank you that you care about every facet of our life, even stuff like money, that it's not out of your reach or out of your even interest. Would you help us to know you personally, to be committed to you more than we're committed to anything else in the world, and to even submit our money and our desires and our wealth and all the way that we look at that and manage that, submit that to you because you have what is best for us. God, help us to live in that trust and to pass it along to others, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.